That was stupid of me anyway. I was meant to put this fragrance on. I'm so dumb. So yes, good morning. I'm very excited today. Why? Because it is a Sunday, a few days off now. It's time to do another fitness fragrance face-off. So if you haven't seen these before, essentially what I do is I do a morning workout. So I go for a run, walk to the gym, do a gym workout, walk back, all while reviewing fragrances. And in terms of the face-off today, I've been doing a few of these videos lately where essentially I talk about a fragrance term, whether it's cuts through the cold, beast mode, all these sort of things, these terms that you hear, compliment getter. There's loads of terms, and the one we're looking at today is a phrase called dumb reach. Now, when we sort of say dumb reach fragrances, essentially they're fragrances that you can just throw on. They're relatively inoffensive, inexpensive, and they can just kind of do everything. So say you're in a rush, you're going to the shops, or you're on your lunch break, you just want to top up the spray. You don't have to think too much about it. Is it going to offend anyone? Is it going to be too heavy? Is it going to be wrong for the occasion? That's essentially what we're talking about here for dumb reach. We're going to rank them on our usual 5 categories. We're going to look at price I paid for money. So I've got 3 fragrances today. Which one's the best essentially for its price? We're going to look at versatility. Obviously, when we're talking about it today, we're looking at versatility in relation to being what's the best dumb reach fragrance. We'll talk about situations where you might wear a dumb reach fragrance. We'll then talk about projections, which one's the best for filling a room. So again, if you did kind of want to be noticed for your fragrance or essentially stopping you from smelling, we'll see which one fills up the room the most. And obviously I'll talk about projection during my run. We're going to also look at its compliment factors. We will talk about that a little bit today, which one would be the best in terms of getting good feedback, even if it doesn't get noticed too much. Which one's the best? If someone did notice it, what would they say? And then just longevity, where I'll spray miles before I go for my walk to the gym, do my gym workout, and then about 3 hours will go by, and I'll smell mine again, see which one is the longest lasting to get to our overall winner. So I hope that makes sense. What I'm going to quickly do is just introduce the contenders today and just talk very briefly about them. We won't go into a note breakdown, but just give an overall sort of vibe of the fragrance. When I do these sort of reviews, I quite like to mix it up. So I don't want it to all be the same sort of genre or same smell of fragrance. I want them to kind of be used for the same thing but smell slightly different or came out in a different era or just a clone essentially. And that's what we've got today. So the first one isn't a clone. It does smell very much like your Dior Sauvage type fragrances. So a bit of that slight fresh spiciness to it, but it is a blue fragrance. It's called Police Extreme. That's really annoying, this one. The atomizer on it is terrible. You have to do this. And you can probably hear by it, it just doesn't, it's it basically. But yeah, I will get a bit of juice out of it. But it's very much like Dior Sauvage shower gel type vibe. Sporty, athletic, one to throw in your gym bag. That's really what it is. So it exactly fits that mould of dumb reach. Then got an old school fragrance. This one here, Brut Original Cologne. Came out in 1964, this one. This one's a lot more soapy. So I always say this one's a bit like your granddad's soap. But it leans more into that citrus as well. Where that one's kind of that more fresh, spicy, there might be a bit of lavender in there. This one's definitely more of those soft citruses. It feels like a nice sort of luxury soap. Yeah, a little bit like what your granddad would sort of smell like after he's had a shave. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I really don't. It's a scent I appreciate. I believe it's the second time I've had this one. I really like it. And then we've got a clone here. And this is the Essence Vault 301. Recently did a review of this one. It's a clone of Abercrombie & Fitch Fierce. If you don't know that one, very similar to Mont Blanc Legend. The Fierce line, I believe it came out in about 2002, 2003. And yeah, this one is a very good clone. I have smelt Fierce before. I've obviously smelt Mont Blanc Legend more. But this one's kind of more like a peppery spice. There's certainly a bit of musk in it. I thought there was lavender in Fierce. There actually isn't. But again, it's a slight more barbershoppy smell compared to Police Extreme. It's got that more blue shower jelly type vibe. But yeah, a lot more modern than Brew. It's not got that soapy feel to it. This one's more quite sharp. It's actually very sharp with those spices and definitely some green accords in there. But a musk. It's a very, very much, if you think of a masculine sort of body spray, if you bought a sporty David Beckham type body spray, it would smell a little bit like that. I'm sure if you haven't smelt Fierce or a clone of it before, you would certainly have picked up fragrances that have a very similar DNA. So they're the 3 we're looking at today. What I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to start my stretching and we'll do the first 2 categories during my runs. We're going to look at price I paid for money for these 3 fragrances and also their versatility. Which one is the best dumb reach fragrances for more occasion where you might just want to throw a fragrance on. So yeah, I'll see you out there. Tell you what, you can't beat getting up early on a Sunday for a run. Literally, running in the middle of the road, barely any cars about, but I am tired because I didn't finish work till gone 9 o'clock last night. But anyway, the price / value for money for the 3 Dumb Reach fragrances I've mentioned in my collection. Well, just to give you a guide, I paid £6 for Brut, I paid £11.78 or something for Police Extreme a couple of years ago, and the Essence Vault 301, the clone of Abercrombie & Fitch Fierce, is about £25 for 100ml. So normally when I'm talking about price / value for money, I tend to say scent quality is one of the most important things. You want something to smell more expensive than what you're paying. When it comes to Dumb Reach, I'm not too worried about that. Look, I'm not going to pay a lot anyway. It's not to get real compliments. It's just to get me smelling sort of clean and fresh through the day without ever worrying that I smell. And as I said, no thought involved. It's just something you can slip in your bag. So actually, as much as anything here, the bottle shape and sometimes the quality of the bottle matters more. And I say this because the Essence Vault 301, you know, they're very standard generic bottles, actually leaked when I got it. And it's not got like the sort of neck, the tubing around the atomizer. So I can't put that in a bag. You know, I have to keep that one at home. So I can't even take that with me, which I want to do with a Dumb Reach fragrance. I want to throw it in a gym bag in my pocket, all those sorts of things. And where Police Extreme and Brut Cologne is really good is they're both very flat bottles. And they're like a phone shape, you know, they're no thicker than my phone. So it's easy to put in a pocket in the side of a bag and I can take it with me. And they've got the little nozzle bit around the neck, which means it's less likely to leak. And that's much, much better for me. So really it comes down to those two. So Abercrombie & Fitch Fierce or the Essence 301 has come last. It's the most expensive, smells the most quality. But for me, I don't need that as a Dumb Reach scent. That one can be worn and more of a signature scent than anything for this round for that price. So it comes down to those two, Police Extreme or Brut. And I think for me, I'm just going to go for Brut. Yes, it's not as mass appealing, no two ways about it, but this is just for me. I can throw that one on. Neither of them are strong projectors, by the way, so they're not going to really fill a room on. You know, I don't really care if they get noticed too much because I'm going to be running errands, I'm going to be doing all those things. And essentially for £6 I can get 2 of them for the price of Police Extreme. And do I think 200ml of it is better than 100ml of Police Extreme? Yeah, 200ml of Brut is definitely better. But look, if they were the same price, I'd probably go Police Extreme just because it's more modern, more wearable, and it's got a bit of that Sauvage DNA, which fits what I do doing sports and stuff. But for this round, I just think it's great value to get 2 Bruts for about 12 quid, 200ml. Let's be honest, in today's world with the cost of living, you'd be laughing. I don't know if you can hear that, and no, I don't mean the seagulls, and I don't mean my heavy breathing. There's a bit of rain in the air. It did say drizzle this morning, but it's certainly a bit heavier than that. I don't know if you see the rain on my glasses. Anyway, stop moaning, Harry. You want to hear about versatility. So, with these 3 fragrances, which one is the most versatile? Well, normally when I'm talking about versatility, I factor in things like things you can dress up and dress down in equal measure, and also the seasons you can wear them. But for this today, when we're talking about Dumb Reach, I'm not too worried about that, because let's be honest, for a sort of seasonal thing, you just want Dumb Reach fragrances just to be there whenever you need them in those emergency situations. And again, they tend to be lighter fragrances, more citrus, more aquatic type scents, because they are more wearable in all those seasons. So for me, seasons aren't too important here. And to be honest with you, for the exactly same reason, you don't normally get sweeter fragrances as Dumb Reach because they're too heavy. You're not going to want them for running errands or the gym, especially in those hot weather climates where you're warming up, because it's just not as suited to that, and you'll get fed up with them as much as everyone else. They're not to really impress. Sweeter fragrances, I think, are to impress and get compliments, and that's not what Dumb Reach fragrances are. So I think when we're talking about versatility here, you do need to factor in age. Look, Brut definitely smells the oldest, and for me, I think if you're someone who just wants a Dumb Reach fragrance, you tend to find they're more those beginner entry-level type scent. I think if I'm someone getting into fragrances or I'm trying to buy a scent for someone who's never had one before, I think they're going to say that smells a little bit like an old man. And look, I appreciate it, but I know a lot of people won't. So I'm going to put that one last, more because I just don't think it's so suited to different ages. It might just bring back nostalgia for someone a bit older, but for me, that's not enough to maybe justify that cheap price that nobody's going to worry too much when you pay £6 or £11 in general And I just think in the case of Police Extreme in comparison, that one's more wearable. It feels more suited to the gym. It's more of that sort of Dior Sauvage, peppery, aquatic, youthful, athletic type smell. Whereas Brut just has that older man, soapy type scent that doesn't feel as suited to the gym environment. So then really it comes down to, is Police Extreme better than the Essence Vault 301 in terms of versatility? And I'm going to say yes. Look, I think the Essence Vault 301 is obviously, as I said earlier, more expensive. There's certainly more going on. There's more complexity to it. There's a spiciness, there's a muskiness, and it's overall just quite peppery, I'd say. I don't know if there's pepper in it, but it's quite peppery. It's a little bit heavier, and that'll get you through the whole day, as opposed to just for a couple of hours, which is what a dumb reach fragrance is for. If you want the Essence Vault 301 as a signature scent, then go for it. It's better than the other two for that, because it is a little bit heavier, a bit more complex, and a bit better quality. But I think just for that general sort of Dior Sauvage DNA, I think that's perfect for what a lot of people want when we're talking dumb reach. And for that reason, 3 points here goes to Police Extreme, 2 points to the Essence Vault 301, the Fierce clone. And then unfortunately Brut, you won the first round, but you're last in this one. So when we get back, we will talk about projection. How much am I noticing these frames on my run? And we'll do a room spray test. So run done, it is now time to talk about projection. So I'm going to spray my room if this atomizer actually lets me. We'll do 5 if it works. 3, 4, 5. That's as much as I'm going to get out of that one. Right, then we'll do this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then Brut at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So essentially I'm going to go down, have a cup of tea, talk about projection during my runs, how much I noticed the phrases, which ones were the strongest, and yeah, essentially which one felt the best suitable for exercise. Then when I come back upstairs, we'll talk about which one fills up the room. So if a colleague came in, would they detect it and would they say good things about it? So yeah, let's head downstairs. I'll spray my arms when I come back up. So nice. So projection during my run for these dumb reach fragrances. To be honest with you, again, I'm not really that worried about it being super, super strong. Normally on a run, I quite like it because it keeps me going. Now, there were actually a lot of runners around, a lot of familiar faces, so that was kind of a bit of a distraction for me. But the fragrances didn't really leap off my clothing. I mean, I could smell at the start the Essence Vault 301, the Fierce clone, but nothing overpowering. About right, really, for a workout, which is fine. This is what these fragrances do. They can be used in many situations. As we said, they are all pretty versatile in their own right. At the end, when I was doing some stretching, though, I did also notice Police Extreme, and that was quite a surprise to me. Again, it's not a strong fragrance, but actually it does linger on clothes for quite a long time. I've worn hoodies before, taken them off, worn them 2 days later, and I'm like, oh, what's that on there? And then I remembered, oh, I put Police Extreme on. So that did really well. The one I didn't notice at all was Brut, which is a bit of a shame, really, because sometimes you expect with old school fragrances to be a little bit heavier. But again, that's not the point of this round today. The point of this is to be something that just makes you not stink. That's how I see dumb reach phrases. As long as you don't stink, that's what you want during a workout, that's fine. But you do want a little bit of kick. You want to know that you've put something on, essentially. And I certainly did with 2 of them. So it looks like when we do the room spray test, when I head upstairs in a minute, once I finish this, it's going to come down to those 2. But you never know. Maybe Brut can make one last push to try and get top spot during projection. Up we go. My nose is constantly running. It's like a tap. Oh. So yeah, I can't smell any of the fragrances at the top of the stairs. But I certainly can smell fragrance as I come in my room. And that's the Essence Vault 301. Now, what I've got to decide here is that too strong to be a dumb reach type fragrance? I can't detect the other 2 at all. And I think what I would say is, I've mentioned it before, yes, it's a signature scent. But it's certainly, the reason I've put it in this competition, it can be a dumb reach. And the fact it is being noticed, and again, I always think dumb reach fragrances, as much as I say, you know, they're to stop you from smelling, you tend to be putting them on when you're in a bit of a rush, I find, if you go into the shops, or me and my brother, we go for a walk. Sometimes it's just there and it's just easy to put on. So in some ways, you do want it to have a bit of projection. It's got to win this round. It's got to win this round. Projection is an important thing, and you certainly can notice it. And then obviously, I'm going to give Police Extreme second here. Just because I noticed during my run, it sprayed it here and Brut here, and honestly, Brut, It's just nothing. There's just nothing with Brut at all, so that one's had to come last. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put you down on an Aqua de Palma Colonia Pura bottle, if you stay balanced, and then I'm just going to spray my arm. So essentially it's 20 past 9 now. It'd be about 10 past 12 by the time I leave the gym. And what we're going to test for later on is longevity. So which one is still on my skin after I've done a workout, had a shower. Just got to spray this. Oh, this police fragrance. I think I'm going to have to chuck it away soon. Hopefully we can still just about get enough out of there. And then Brut, I'm just going to spray under there, under the other side of my watch. And we'll see when we come out the gym which one has survived the best, which one is the best for longevity. Obviously, going to walk down now, get myself changed, and we will talk about longevity. So, talk about longevity. We won't be talking about longevity. We'll be talking about compliment factor. Which one do I think is the best as a sort of compliment getting fragrance when you are on the move? Say you're walking past someone in the shops and they catch a whiff of your scent. Which one do I think is going to be the best to gather that attention? So yeah, we'll head down now. Okay then, so on to compliment factor. Now I wasn't sure I was going to put this one in initially today because, again, as we've been saying, I don't think damn reach fragrances are for compliments. They're for you to stop smelling. But that being said, normally when I consider this category, I talk about things like date night, I talk about office scents. But actually sometimes these emergency dumb reach scents might be needed for those occasions. You might have forgot your fragrance, and obviously then you've got it in the car ready to wear at the office for the day. You want it to get through the day. And I know people who I'm friends with, or family members who I know have met people out on a dog walk or whatever, or maybe in the shops or whatever, and you know they've ended up getting married to them. Maybe they had to put on a dumb reach emergency fragrance that day, and who knows, maybe that was a conversation starter. So you never know when these might actually be needed for those important situations, and therefore I thought I'd put it in still today. So I think the first thing I would say is, if you're going for uniqueness, Brut is the most unique of the three, not because of it, you know, being a unique scent, because it's certainly not, but just because it's old school, and the other two are such familiar type scents, you know, within that Dior Sauvage range or Mont Blanc Legend range, that it's not going to be that different. I don't think anyone's going to necessarily speak too, you know, too differently about those because they're familiar scents. But I think the uniqueness of Brut, in the fact it being old, is probably not a good thing, because people might just think it smells like an old man, so you may not get noticed in that sense. If we're obviously talking about projection, obviously the Essence Vault 301, that's the strongest, that's probably the one that's going to get the most notice. You might get that conversation started through that one. But the one that's probably the most sort of likeable, most wearable, is probably then Police Extreme. So you've kind of got benefits of all three of them. And I suppose it really depends on what you want in terms of your personality. None of them are going to be too daring or anything like that. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about putting them on again. It's not really about anyone else, it's about yourself. So for me, what one would I go for if I could just pick one? Well, I'm going to put Brut last, just because I think that uniqueness works against it, and that's its real selling point for compliments. The problem with the other two is they're such familiar scents that, again, people may not say good things, but they may also have had negative experience of people who've been wearing them before. But just for its extra projection, and I know it's not really about that, I'm going to go the Essence Vault 301, the Abercrombie & Fitch, to get all 3 points here. I think if you needed it in those emergency situations, again, needed it at work because you've forgotten your fragrance, you've got this one in your bag, or if you're at the gym, it's going to give you a bit more kick through the day when you may need it most, and I think that's just a little bit better. Plus, let's be honest, you've seen the atomizer on the police one, it's not very good, so that's going to come second, that's going to get the 2 points. So yeah, the winner of this round, Abercrombie & Fitch Fierce, the Essence Vault 301. But of course, if anyone mentions one at the gym today, I'll give that one the win. I was going to say I'll bump it up to a 10, like a fragrance review. But yeah, that one will be the ultimate winner. Normally, when I'm doing these fitness fragrance face-offs, I tend to sort of talk about the fragrances at the end and longevity before I get home into this situation. But actually, I got stopped by some young lad on a bike. I was thinking, I don't recognise that person because they had a deep voice. They looked quite tall. And it was one of my old pupils for a few years ago. He's just completely grown and he's now become like a young man. It's really strange when you see people like that. But it's nice that they stop and talk to you as well. It shows that they obviously enjoyed working with you and didn't find you too annoying, even if you were bossing him around doing sports sessions. Anyway, longevity. So it is now 1:30. It's essentially about 4 hours since I applied the fragrances. So let's see if I can smell any of them. Obviously, I've got no confidence at the gym. Doesn't matter though today. I didn't really want or expect any really, because ultimately this is dumb reach. This is about for you. Okay, well, there's two of the three fragrances I can smell. The one I can definitely not smell is Brut. Brut hasn't done very well today. You know, when you look at it, I didn't notice it during my run, didn't notice it after my run, even on my coat. But the other two I can. So the Essence Vault 301 is the strongest. It's about 65-70% as strong. Police Extreme is not far behind. It's probably about 60%. I think the Essence Vault would nick this round. I think 3 points has to go to that one, 2 points to Police Extreme, and then unfortunately 1 point to Brut. But I did think, while I was having my shower, I thought, do I really want to give an overall win today? Obviously, I've been doing a point system, and I thought, actually, I've sort of changed my mind, because look, all these phrases are brilliant to be dumb reach type scents, and I'm hoping I've explained each category why I've chosen those fragrances. You know, whether it's longevity, whether it is projection, I've explained why I think they'd be best for versatility, all those things. But also, I think what really matters is how much you weight those categories. So when I'm thinking of dumb reach, probably the most important thing for me is the price. I don't want to spend like £24-25 on a cheap fragrance that I'm just using to do errands essentially. And I think probably based on the scores, the S4 would have won today, just guessing on base what I've been saying. But I don't think I necessarily would pick that one, even though it's one more round. I don't think I'd pick that one, because I value price sachet for money more over some of those other rounds, which, you know, that one didn't win. So yeah, it's really interesting to know what to go for. And I think if I had to just pick one, so this is really what I would say. If I had to pick one of the three, I think I'd go this one, Police Extreme. Look, is it the best quality bottle in the world? No. As I said, the atomizer's terrible on it. But it's got the most recognisable DNA. You get that Dior Sauvage. Yeah, Dior Sauvage type vibe. It smells really nice, really pleasant. Goes very well with gym exercise if you're out walking the dog, if you're going shopping. It's a scent that people are going to recognise. And to be honest with you, I think the bottle matters to me. You could certainly just slip it in a blazer pocket, in your car, all those things. It's nice and thin, nice and sleek. And for me, that's really what I'm looking for. But Police also do men's and women's fragrances. This isn't just the only one. I think Police as a brand are great for those dumb reach type scents. They do some in skull bottles, but you can certainly get men's fragrances in this sort of shape. Police Contemporary, I believe, is one. There's one called Freeze or Frozen. Nice citrus scent. My brother had compliments with that one. There's one called Independent, I believe it was called, and that was like a little bit like an Encre Noir, slightly more wearable Encre Noir. It was really pleasant. So yeah, I just think Police as a brand are really good for those dumb reach type scents, and also just for gifting. If someone's getting into fragrances, or you know, you just got a teenage son or something who's, you know, you just think maybe you might want to start wearing fragrances a bit more, they're a really good starting point. And again, I think clone fragrances are brilliant if you just want them for, you know, getting a cheap version of a very expensive scent that smells very similar. So for me, I get clone fragrances just to put in my bag to top up a more expensive one. And again, Brut's great, but I think the fact it is quite a dated smell is going to be quite a lot for a lot of people. It didn't really perform too well for me today. So I think overall, this one would be the one that I would choose. If there was just one I could recommend for most people, I think this does the best thing. I think it just works really well. And look, if you're someone who's not interested in fragrances, you can just have that in your collection and you're going to smell fine. You're going to smell better than anyone who's not wearing a fragrance, that's for sure. So yeah, I think that's kind of explained it today. So no real winner. Probably overall on points, the Essence Vault would have won that one with 301 points. Essence Vault 301 would have won. I think it won at least 3 rounds today. But this one, I think, is the ultimate dumb reach fragrance. That's a bit of a tongue twister, wasn't it? But yeah, look at Police. Really good line, really good fragrances. eBay, Amazon, 10, 11 quid. Get them on all the fragrance discounts websites too. So yeah, thank you very much for watching today. Time for a lie down. I have done 39,684 steps. That's certainly a workout. Catch you later.